Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver
Bix
now.
Weir, roadtoruta.com. The battles in silver continue. Surprise, surprise. How long have I been doing this? 99? 26 years? There's been little victories and little losses. But, thinking about it, silver at 33 bucks from 4. It was under 5. What do I got to complain about? Everything. It's not free market trading. The whole world lies. The media lies. The Silver Institute is the biggest liar of them all, which is sad and embarrassing because they are funded by the industry and the bankers, though. But hey, what do? You fight a good fight and keep that fight up. Silver is hovering around a spot where it could break free and make a real attack on $50. $50 is the artificial high from 2011 and from 1980. Both of them were artificial because of that price is determined on the futures and options market, not the real. If there was a real silver market, there isn't. There's no real physical silver market, but you can get physical. Most people in the United States basically have stopped buying physical, other than the stackers who are relentlessly buying. But who is buying? China, India, and Russia. And they know when to buy because Ted Butler told us all how they rig the futures and options market. It should be obvious to everybody that all you have to do to buy at the right time is to watch the moving averages. It's so simple. It's embarrassing. It's so simple because these guys have no other playbook. So we are currently above the moving averages, which would tell you probably not a good time to buy. Then again, you need a core position. If you're not a trader, there's trader or trador. If you're not a trader, you take your core position and you wait, you hodl it, you stack it. And I'm a stacker. I always have been. Always will be, probably. I will sell at some point. I'll let you guys know when I sell a little bit of silver. I'll probably sell a couple ounces to buy a house or something like that at some point. But yeah, silver, the price of silver is such an amazing gift to anybody in the market, especially if you own gold. Because, let me show you what we're looking at. A gold-silver ratio is hovering around 100. And you might ask yourself, what does that matter? Well, it matters because throughout history, let's say 4,000 years of monetary metals, it has very, 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 very rarely been up above 100 to 1 ratio. As a matter of fact, this goes back to 1975. Basically, it's just right in here. That was the J.P. Morgan rig job. Right here, J.P. Morgan. So that's not even real. And right now we're above 100. So look at the history. And if it goes up above 100, it doesn't stay there long. We went above 100 and it came back to 99. I'm not saying they don't have the ability to drive it to 1,000 to 1 or 10,000 to 1. The free market is broken. They can click a mouse and put the price of silver anywhere they want at any moment in time. At the same time, there are people who know that the game is on. And at some point, they will remove this artificial price suppression. And that's what I'm in for. So if you have gold, the obvious thing to do would be, obviously, swap all your gold for silver at 100 to 1. And then buy it back. Wait until the free markets reign, which will probably won't count a COMEX market. And you'll probably see 1 to 1 silver. That's what I'm banking on. Why 1 to 1? It's pretty easy. There's about 6 billion ounces of each above ground, so they say. Now, I know there's a lot more gold. A lot of people starting to talk about a lot of gold above ground. A lot of people talking about bullshit. Oh, yes, this monetary fund, the quantum financial system, or whatever the next iteration of the bullshit they're going to bring up. The Rocky Dinar. I mean, give it a little time. This next thing that you hear about, give it a little time, it'll disappear. It always does. Been doing this 26 years, probably have heard 10 different schemes that say, oh, I know, I'm in charge of these funds in Asia. It's all bullshit. I'm not saying there's not a lot of gold in Asia. There absolutely is. Read Sterling and Peggy Seagrave's books. Gold Warriors. Read it. And they're talking about over 300,000 tons. Jeffrey Christian and the Gold Council will say there's only 215,000 that's ever been mined. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. But there's even more in the ground. And the United States policy since 1900 has been every time you find something in the ground that's precious, leave it in the ground because we're going to use paper money and electronic money. And as long as the rest of the world's taking that stuff from us, we're going to win because we still have our stuff in the ground. They've done it with oil. They've done it with everything, especially silver. But they haven't found a lot of silver. Now, there are some great silver mines in the United States, probably really big ones, but nobody's really found it. Nobody's heard an inkling of it. Coeur d'Alene probably has a few. There are some silver mining companies that have massive silver in the ground, but they can't get the permits to get it out. All that will change when the system breaks down. And we're getting close to that. Let me show you. So we're right here at well above the 200-day moving average is $30.97, which is $31. So you're pretty much guaranteed that if silver drops below $31, it won't drop for too long. As you can see, every time it drops below the moving averages, it jumps right back up. This was the latest. And this right here will be coming out for the April report. I think India was the big buyer here. So if they're up above 30 million ounces or 40 million ounces, it depends how long they hold it down and how far down they push it. India has no problem buying 1 billion ounces of silver if the banking cabal wants to give it up. I think the most in a month they've bought is 80 million ounces. I don't quite sure. I can't remember. I know we've had some really large months. And then, when it's above, they just, they really don't touch it much. So you're basically, you have a guaranteed floor of $31 because if it goes under 31, everybody on the mother starts to pile in. It pops right back up in the next week or two. And the upside of that investment is unlimited. There's an unlimited upside to what silver could do. We're pulling it out of the ground at 7-1. And people often say that, if silver was freely traded, it'd be 7-1 because it's coming out of the ground at 7-1. Throughout history, let's say 4,000 years, 3,000 years of history, that's not how the value of gold and silver was determined. It wasn't how it was coming out of the ground. It was what was available above ground for the monetary system. Now, we have a very, very interesting thing happen in the last 100 years called industrialization, electrification of the world. And silver being the best conductor of electricity, the vast majority of what comes out of the ground gets used up in electrification. In solar panels, I'll get to that in a second. Flat screen TVs, electric cars, anything electric uses a little tiny bit of silver, which is, it would be impossible to melt down all the silver that's being used and recycle it because it's used in such small amounts. You can't make this shit up, that the price of silver is still, 66% of its all-time high in 1980. How much money's been printed since 1980? But it is the most important asset to keep down. Now, remember, why is gold running so high and silver not? Because the bankers own the gold. The bankers have all the gold. Either the bankers, the central bankers, or even the countries. Yeah, they want the price of gold to go up. It's very easy. It's not freely traded either. So, and they're very visible when they're in the gold market. All these big banks, knowing now that gold will be part of our new system, all the big banks are buying gold. And they're buying gold in massive dollar quantity amounts. None of them are buying silver. None of them. Because they couldn't. You look at the volumes of gold, the dollar volumes of gold versus the dollar volumes of silver, not traded on the exchanges. They can trade derivatives, but the amount of dollars that have gone into buying physical gold by the banking cabal and the central banks, try to apply that to silver and see what happens. It's ridiculous. No, it can't happen. And that's the beauty of investing in silver is one day we will see a true fair market value of silver. I believe. We'll find out, right? We're getting closer and closer every day. So right now the game is the 100-day and 200-day moving average. Anything under the 100-day, India, China, Russia buy. Anything under the 200-day, they load up the truck. So that's where we are. It's been like that. Ted Butler found this shit out by looking at the Commitment of Traders report. And spot on. Miss Ted. He'll be with us spiritually to see the release of silver from manipulation, but he literally spent his whole life, or a vast portion of it, since the 1980s, 50 years of it, fighting this fight. 40 years of it, fighting this fight, and he passed away last year. Yeah, but hey, thank you, Ted, for teaching us, how this game is played and who's playing it. Very excited about this. Open interest. We had an EMP, exchange for physical, right here, of another 8 million ounces. This is when they buy on the COMEX at the cheap prices. They send it over to London for delivery. So the bigger these are, the bigger the EFP, exchange for physicals, are, the smaller delivery month that we'll have on the COMEX, which starts, I think, next Monday or Tuesday is the first notice day of the May contract, which is a delivery month. Where are we right now with that? Right here, 42,000 contracts, which is, quick math, 210 million ounces. Now, these are all derivative short contracts and long contracts. Every short has a long. They wait till they get right up next to the next month, and then they just roll it over, meaning they'll sell. They'll buy back 1 month and sell into the next month, which basically controls the price at where it was if all of them did the exact same thing. That's how the game is played. But make no mistake, they still have full control. We'll know more on Friday and then Monday. Let's take a look, actually. You can look at the calendar of the May contract. First notice is April 30th. So April 30th, we will know. 29th is the first position. So next Friday, around next Friday. Or is that Monday? That's Monday. I'd have to look at the calendar. The end of next week, we'll know, because right near the end, they'll get rid of all their games for this month and roll it into next month. All right, as far as what happened this month, at the beginning of the month, we were looking at about 10 million ounces that was going to stand for delivery, which is pretty decent, about what we did in January for non-delivery month. Turned out we're at 15 and still going. Remember, you can buy a COMEX contract. Each contract is 5,000 ounces, and you can take delivery. That you stand for delivery right away. I think they have like 3 or 4 days to get to you. They take longer because they got to find it because they don't have it sitting around, no matter what the inventory levels say. But who is the big player? Obviously, the big supplier of all this metal is the big derivative short, which is HSBC. HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank right here, all year long has been the big deliverer. I guarantee you they'll be the big deliverer next month in May. Hopefully they hurt and they have pain next month. Last month they had to deliver over 20 million ounces. Hope it's the same, but I suspect it's going to be a little lower. But I don't know yet. Who knows? We'll find out, right? JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, interestingly, was the big taker. And that all has to do with the structured derivative trade of all the JP Morgan. So from 2008 to 2014, JP Morgan was shorting the COMEX and taking physical delivery. They got up to about 1.2 billion ounces in their vaults that they controlled. Trump and the U.S. government shut them down. They didn't sell it. They leased it out to all their banking friends to continue the rig job. And now they got to pay it back. Is it going to JP Morgan? It's going to a JP Morgan customer, probably BlackRock. But we don't know. But all the banks have their own things they have to close out. So Wells Fargo, this month, a non-delivery month, took a massive amount of silver. And for them, 6.5 million ounces in a non-delivery month is a huge, huge amount. What does that tell you? They, so 4 or 5 years ago when all the JP Morgan leases were going out through B of A, they took part. They did their share for at least, so it's been 2 months in a row. That's about 13 million ounces. Wells Fargo on their house account. Historically, Wells Fargo has not been a big player. So it's interesting that this year, they're, since December, they've been having to pay off these leases in metal. I don't think they're storehousing any of this stuff. I think it's pledged somewhere else, probably to Elon or Warren Buffett, is my guess. I think Buffett will end up with the most physical silver after all this is done. Remember, just when they started the silver rig, from leasing out JP Morgan's metal to Bank of America, who spread it out between the banksters, Warren Buffett invested heavily in Bank of America. And everybody's like, what's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing? And then he has since sold it all as these things end. So all structured deals, part of the deal was when he sold his B of A positions, I think they'd close it out in silver. They'd give him silver. We'll see. I don't know. That's a hunch. All right, let's go on to Harvey Organ blog. This is the amount of exchange for physical this month. Really strong start of the month. Then it kind of petered off. Now we're going to add another, what was it? I got it right here. EFP of 8 million ounces, a little over 8 million ounces added to Harvey's total for April. We are now at 88 million ounces, which is a very strong month. It will probably, my guess, it's going to be over 100 million ounces that will be exchanged for physical. Buy the contract on COMEX, send it to London for delivery, and then buy it there and then send it to India to be installed in their new solar panel program that they're building out. India wants to be not as big as China in the solar industry, but enough to build solar plants all throughout India. And that's how they justify importing massive amounts of physical silver. Hey, it's to clear the air. It's to save the world from global warming, climate change, whatever they want to do. Very interesting. The games that are afoot. Somebody's going to panic one day and say, that's it. I can't take it anymore. I just have to get all the silver I can get. Everything I can get. I'll buy it at any price, wherever it goes. I need it because this shit is not going to last long, and I want to be the one with the most. Speaking of the most ridiculous company in the world, Metals Focus, who supplies the numbers to the Silver Institute for silver, the fake numbers to silver, came out with a summary of their report. Now remember, this is the same company. Metals Focus is the same company that does the Silver Institute Silver Survey every year. And I was jumping up and down last year because look what they did. All this, if you go to roadrooter.com, the first page, you scroll down a little bit, right here, scroll down a little bit. All these red blocks is what happened last year. So they changed the number of the 20, so they had a problem going from 2022 to 2023, and it was reported in 2024. So they're reporting now in 2025 for the 2024 changes. But last year, you can see right here on photovoltaics, this will just piss you off. They had 140 million ounces when it was originally done in the 2022 totals. And then when they went up to talk about 2023, it went down to 118. So it went from 140 to 118 for 2022. That's the same year. They changed the historical numbers because it would have shocked everybody. Why would it shock everybody? Because solar was up 76% from 2023 to 2024. 76%. But their number is exactly half of that. 38%. So they reported half the amount of silver just by changing historical numbers. That's fraud. That is flat out fraud. And then all these red boxes are numbers they changed historically. Now that is just complete and total fraud. Now, because I called them out, they didn't do the same thing. They didn't do the same thing this year, but they committed their own form of fraud in that they said that in photovoltaics, the amount of silver used was 190. It went from 192.7 to 197.6, or a 3% growth. Now they changed the 192.7 just a little bit, because otherwise it would have said 2% instead of 3%. And how ridiculous can they look? Why do I say this? Bix, why are you mad that the Silver Institute showed that silver grew in photovoltaics by 3%? Why are you mad? This is why. Bloomberg NEF says the world installed 599 gigawatts of solar in 2024 and projects 698 gigawatts in 2025. The 599 gigawatts, this is what the Silver Institute is, and in Metals Focus is reporting, installed in 2024 was 35% higher than what was installed in 2023. 35%. So the amount of PV installed was 35% higher. The amount of silver used in that PV was only 3% higher. That's a lie. It's a flat out fraud lie. And they know it. And I've talked to them about it. And I've talked to Metals Focus about it. I've talked to the Silver Institute about it. They don't care. Oh, we have to make adjustments when new information becomes available. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I have no idea why anybody is funding the Silver Institute. If you own mining shares in companies that fund the Silver Institute, sell those mining shares. Or go to the CEO and say, what the hell why are you allowing, by funding them, the Silver Institute, you're allowing them to lie to the public. It's ridiculous. And by the way, it's not stopping. It's not stopping at all. Look at the Bloomberg, which is they're pretty accurate every year. They're projecting 698 gigawatts installed. They're usually low, but we'll just say 700, which is what? From 15% or so rise. 15% or so rise in solar installations next year. And Metals Focus calls it thrifting. They're so far over their skis. You can't thrift 35%, pull 35% of the silver out in a year, especially because nobody is upgrading their silver or their solar manufacturing lines to the newest technology. They're broke. These companies are broke. They run with what they got. Nobody's upgrading their lines. So it doesn't matter if, the new technology, what they do is they take the new technology that comes out, untested, and say, that's how much silver is used in solar. And yeah, the new technology uses less silver, but nobody's installing those lines in the mass production of these things. It's fraud. It's just flat out basic fraud. And the Silver Institute and Metals Focus both know, and both know that it's obvious. And this year, so they didn't go back and change. They didn't go back and change the historicals much. So they just had to do it. Silver was just about the same. See, normally they'd change historicals, but since the year before we caught them on it, now they're not changing historical much. They just got to literally lie to your face. But in the end, we'll find out, right? We'll see who's still standing when the tides goes out. Who's got their pants on? All right. By the way, U.S. solar industry to add 502 gigawatts of capacity in the next decade. Nobody's stopping solar installation growth, no matter how ridiculous it might be. I have nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with a solar panel. That's great. Is it the most efficient way to create electricity? No, it's not. I mean, the good thing is it'll last. You install it, it'll last for a very long time. The bad thing is you're using up precious silver that could be used in the future for other things. Because the price is so low, this is what happens when you hold the price too low for too long. It gets misallocated into places it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be in every solar panel in the quantities that, my take right now, 300 to 400 million ounces of silver going into the solar panels. Yes, I know the Silver Institute's under 200. It's 350 to 4. And maybe more. But you're not allowed to know. You're not allowed to know because there are no other people talking about you got Jeffrey Christian, who's a bought and paid for mouthpiece of the cabal, of the deep state, of the bullion bankers who pay his salary and the salary of his 2 or 3 people he works with. And then you got the Silver Institute. That's all Silver has. And it's got a bunch of YouTube warriors out there, the Silver Knights, fighting for freedom of the price of silver. That's all we're asking for, is freely traded silver. And you can't have that when you are trading. Let's see what was traded yesterday. Volume of 750 million ounces was traded yesterday in derivatives to set the price. Back and forth to each other. These banks trade back and forth to each other. It's all facilitated by a company called Virtu Financial. Vinny Viola down there in the guts of the high frequency trading world. Crazy. All right. This might be even crazier. Trump came out yesterday and said, "Oh, we're getting close on China." China says, "What are you talking about? We're not even negotiating." You don't think Trump's a market rigger? He is the number one market rigger. Absolutely. 100%. But he also knows when to pull the plug. I think that plug is going to be pulled. Trump recently suggested the 145% tariffs on China could be reduced substantially. What happened? Silver gets slammed. The markets start to roll. Oh, yeah, everything's fine. These are professional traders. These are professional economic analysts that are rigging these markets or trying to participate, which is really weird. I mean, I don't know why everybody isn't buying physical silver, because all it would take is less than 1% to buy all the physical silver on the planet. And then silver goes from, $33 to $33,000. Who knows what the real price of silver is? My take, it'll go 1-to-1 with gold for 2 reasons. Number one, they're above ground at 1-to-1, and that's historically how the price of gold and silver were valued. But number two, an even bigger reason, is that there's a hell of a lot of gold out there. There's not, 215,000 tons. It's more like 1 million or 2 million tons that we already know about, maybe more. I heard someone the other day say, "Oh yeah, there's 1 billion tons out there." He was probably talking ounces, but 1 billion tons, probably not 1 billion tons. There isn't the sun. The sun has well over 1 billion tons. I have no doubt. It's kind of hard to get it. Anyway, that's what's going on. So yeah, same game, different day. Same players, actually, which is crazy. Buy physical silver, get it in your own possession. We have 62 days, 2 months until the beta launch of hybrid edge cloud architecture. I believe that you need to have silver in your own possession to manage this transition out of the old system into something new. The new thing will be 100% AI focused. And you have to be an AI, especially if you're a young kid thinking about going to college or going to college. I had a big, long talk with my son and his friends about what is the future for our kids who are smart, ambitious, going to college. What are they learning? The same shit we learned 40 years ago. They have to be involved in AI in some way or another, because that will take up 90% of the jobs. Sorry. No lawyers, no bankers, no accountants. Easy for AI to do that. Go on to AI. I like Grok, or you can use ChatGPT, and there's a couple of them, and say, make me a lawsuit. I'm going to sue my gardener because he killed a plant that I like. Draw me up a lawsuit and print it out for me. And they'll do it. They'll ask you a couple questions. What's the name of your gardener? What's the street address? And they'll figure out a legal argument, and it'll print out. That's AI. I am writing a book with the help of AI. It's not great at, you can feed it just so much, but there will still be a need for humans, because AI will never touch the side of humanity, because it's not real. AI just runs programs. But a lot of our jobs can easily be replaced. And then what do you do? So back to what to do, get involved with AI. And Theta is going to be running the decentralized part of AI. It is the railroad tracks of decentralized cloud storage, decentralized AI, artificial intelligence. So that's what I told those kids. I'm like, you got to get involved with Theta one way or another. I mean, even if you don't have any money at all and you have an Android phone, it'll come to the iPhone soon. You can run an edge node on your phone and earn little bits of T-Fuel. By the way, the T-Fuel Theta ratio is still high, 18 to 1 or so. I think it'll get down to less than 5 to 1 or 6 to 1, which is the amount. See, every time there's a transaction on the Theta AI side or any side, they burn 25%. So everybody's like, well, T-Fuel has an unlimited amount of tokens and making it at 5% per year, so it's inflationary. Well, when this kicks in, when the Edge Cloud kicks in, and all of a sudden there's a whole lot of transactions going on, a lot will be burned. It'll take a couple years probably, but it will get to a point where there's less T-Fuel than Theta. So really interesting times. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I do recommend swapping your Theta for T-Fuel right now. If you feel like you need to do something, just because it's at 18 to 1, then swap it back when it's at 10 to 1 or 6 to 1, or who knows how, if it really kicks off and all of a sudden Samsung and Google and Sony are saying everything's going decentralized, we partnered with Theta. That's what's going to happen. That's what's really going to kick things off. And they're going to start selling on a U.S. exchange. So get your Theta today. You can get it Simple Swap. You can get it, contact Caleb Brown. You can get it also. I heard Canada has problems with, they have problems with Canadian banks. Use Simple Swap. If you don't know how to deal in cryptos at all, I don't know what to tell you. It's the future. So go on YouTube and ask your questions in the chat, in the YouTube search function, because that's where we all learn. Say, what is Bitcoin? And it'll show you 10 videos. It does take some effort on your part, but you will be rewarded greatly from the effort you put in today. Is my opinion. Anyway, so I got for you. We are currently giving away one Veritasium token for all you people looking for insurance on your crypto portfolio. Reggie has a patent on pretty much all of DeFi. How much of it will it cover? Nobody knows until the lawsuits really kick in. I call it a lottery ticket because there's a lot of great things that need to happen for it to be crazy valuable. Like Cliff's data has it going higher than Bitcoin at some point. But a lot of things need to happen. For example, they need to give back Reggie's 98 million of the 100 million tokens. They don't necessarily need to give them back, but Reggie doesn't necessarily need to allow the current Veritasiums that are out there. He's promised discounts on his the cost of using his intellectual property, IP. Anyway, it's like a lottery ticket, I look at it as. And we're giving these away with every private road subscription. 1 year subscription, $2.99, less than $1 a day. And you get all the behind the scenes stuff. I will be talking to Jenny Moonstone tomorrow and post that on the private road. And go check it out. roadtoroot.com. I'll talk to you later.